Alright, sup everyone, Rebirth here. I'm about to send our guest for tonight the link, if you will. Go ahead and that. Maybe it's this one. Okay, let me minimize that for a sec. And okay. Let's click on the link real quick. Alright, cool. So link worked. Yeah, see out of that real quick. Alright. Indie Table episode 4. It's on its way. The link is already sent. I got my questions already written down. Feel like it's a lot easier for me to write down the questions beforehand without me basically freezing up. Alright, and we have our guest for the night. Okay. Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking.
No worries.
Yep. Alright, so I'm about to send a link out on Twitter, if you will. Let me go back to links.
Okay.
Yep. Copy that. So, how's your weekend going? Any exciting things happen?
Um, Not too much. I recorded a podcast this morning. Um, just doing a lot of drawing. That's mostly it. I had the day off from the day job and got tomorrow off, which is nice. Yeah. Kind of the
Yeah.
first day of my weekend.
Alright.
You up to anything fun?
Um, honestly, not really. Like,
Fair enough.
it's mostly work for me, but writing.
Mm.
So,
Cool.
I don't really live a exciting life, if you will. It's either work or writing. Oh, I'm too tired from work to actually write at this point, which is something I need to, I don't know, find like a balance over, I guess.
Yeah. Are you in school at all, or just work, or?
Just work.
Mm.
All right. Okay. So, like I said, welcome to Indie Table, episode number 4. Never thought I would like actually hear myself say those words. Actually, it sounds kind of fun now that I think about it. Like, we made it past episode 3. Let's see how long we can like get this little series going, if you will.
Yeah, you're hitting a stride.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. So, I guess tell me and the viewers about yourself.
My name is Jeremiah Schiek. I go by J.Paul Schiek. You can call me J, Jeremiah, any variation, that's fine. Usually J or Jeremiah. Um, I have been working professionally in comics now for about a year. It's been picking up quite a bit lately. I had my first comic, Hush Ronin, come out through Ashcan Comics Pub in February this year.
Oh, congrats on that.
And thank you. We're running a promo this week, actually. Anybody wants to check it out, if you go to ashcancomics.pub.com, it's in the digital comics section. But if you'd like to get a free copy of Hush Ronin #1 in digital form, when you go to checkout, just write the words Hush Ronin, all lowercase, all one word, in the promo code space, and that will eliminate the cost. You can download Hush Ronin #1 for free.
Oh, I definitely have to go check it out.
Yeah, if you're into samurai stuff at all, it's kind of the kickoff to call it a supernatural samurai epic. Think of it as like a Deadpool movie directed by Akira Kurosawa, scripted by Neil Gaiman, and executively produced by H.P. Lovecraft.
Hmm. Now, see, I've been meaning to like get into some of Lovecraft stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
He's a bit dry. I mean, as far as like the actual reading of it, but getting into it, there is some cool stuff in there, especially if you're into like occult or monsters or this idea of very very ancient evil. If you've seen the Hellboy comics, there's kind of a strong influence there with the Aldru Jihad, the creatures that are just kind of floating out there in space.
Hmm. Now, see, I think I like the mythology of like behind the stuff. Like, wasn't he the one that made or created Chulu? I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, yeah. I think I don't know if I've ever heard the official pronunciation on that one, Cthulhu, or yeah, the CTHULU one,
Yep.
in the octopus faced um, eldritch monster creature.
Yeah, like I said, I think I like actually just enjoyed the lore of it, which is funny. Like, I'm the type of person who I know like nothing about the main series, but for some odd reason, if it's like some type of Pacific lore or mythology about that, then yes, I will like basically go out and research that one part without, actually watching said show or like reading said book. And if I do, it's mainly just to see what happens.
Yeah, that can be kind of cool though too, because then you start kind of coming to your own conclusions about it that way. Well, it's yeah, I know we get on the like my wife and I will get on these Wikipedia sort of bunny trails, see something in a show, or like we watched that Ted Bundy documentary on Netflix, and it was just like immediately went to the net or the Wikipedia article to try to get some of the details that the show kind of danced around, like the statistical numbers on things or more details about an escape or that kind of thing. It was kind of, I don't know. There's a lot of information to be had out there.
All right. All right. So, who are your artistic inspirations? Like, who
Hmm.
are like the ones who like basically inspired you to basically become a artist?
Um, like in comics, it's kind of this ever shifting platform. When I first kind of got serious about drawing superheroes back in the early 90s, it would have been, guys like Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, Mark Silvestri. Mark Silvestri's run on Wolverine was a big influence on me early on. Um, More recently, though, I kind of take to the work of guys like Jorge Fornez, Mitch Gerrits is a big one. Um, like just looking at the Mr. Miracle he did with Tom King, some of the panels and the
Oh,
textures and things
I love
are
that.
gorgeous.
That's
Have you read Sheriff of Babylon?
no, but honestly, I need to like catch up on like a lot of reading material. I find it kind of funny how the more I'm working on my own comic, the more I am like kind of just focused on that to the point of where me reading other comics, it's basically a rare cheat for me at this point.
Yeah. No, no, that's I can totally identify with that. That's um, like for myself, if I at night in bed, if it's like a floppy comic book, I only have so much opportunity to read something like that. So unless I can read it digitally on my iPad, even then, it's like I'm by the time I'm done drawing for the night, I'm ready to just pass out.
Yeah, that's how I am.
Sheriff of Babylon, if you get it, it's the same combo. Tom King and Mitch Gerrits did that one before Mr. Miracle. I think it was like 2015. Really good series. A bit more objective with the story. It's a guy who goes over to Iraq to train some Iraqi people up as police officers for the Iraqi people, and the kinds of trouble that he runs into over there. It's pretty. It gets pretty real in places. I'll say that.
Hmm. Like I said, I do like Mitch's artwork. It's just funny because before then, I I wouldn't say that I wasn't a fan of Mr. Miracle. He was this, in that neutral gray zone for me. But
Yeah,
after this, reading one issue, I don't know what like drew me to it. It was like it was probably the art style or the way like they had that like their panel set up. I don't know why, but like the whole miracle run is like something I do want to have like the physical copy of it one day, which I'm hoping will be one day soon.
yeah. They the trade paper. I have the trade and the hardcover. I have a few of the floppies. I came into it kind of late to get all of them. But yeah, they're it's something that kind of both Tom King and Mitch Gerrits lean heavily into is the 9 panel grid like you'd find in Watchmen, and
Yeah.
it's an interesting kind of structure. I mean, you've got that kind of central panel 5, where you can put your payoff moment, but on the whole, all the panels are exactly the same size. So it's, for one, it's difficult to draw any like huge action scene going on because you've got this very slim rectangle. It's not terribly large. And then at the same time, those all the panels are the same size. So all of the events that happen in those panels have roughly the same story weight. So it creates kind of an interesting balance and imbalance at the same time.
Right. It's
But
just
there's
like
some
when I saw like that. Oh, go ahead.
I would say there's just something really comforting about Mr. Miracle to me. It's like I picked that one up, and it's like very early on it deals with suicide and things like that. I don't want to spoil anybody who's planning on reading it, but some very real kind of depressive issue stuff that wouldn't necessarily make a person feel terribly good about themselves, but for whatever reason, it's like a ray of sunshine when I look at it.
Yeah, it was. I actually need to go out and finish it. I think I stopped like on issue 3 or 4, but
Oh,
I might, yeah, I might just go ahead and like just stop back over from issue 1 again. Give myself like
yeah,
a
definitely finish it up. It is good, and I was the first one of them that I read. I picked up last summer when issue 10 came out. I could not pass up that Dark Side cover, so I bought it, and then it was a tricky one for me to understand. I mean, I knew I was looking at something different because it was on the cover. It looked like a superhero comic, but the inside was anything but that. And I really not doing myself justice by not knowing what comes before this, and not really at that point I didn't really care what came after because it was just such a small slice of it. But
yeah. I think like another thing I like about that and Watchmen is like some odd reason whenever I write panels, I cannot go like under 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 panels. So just to see that format, it's like, okay, wow, there is someone out there who has like my insane unbalanced panel format. Feels nice.
yeah, yeah. There's some artists that will flip out on a writer if they hand them a script page that calls for more than 7 panels. I don't know, that to me, that's, I don't know if it's fear or laziness or just, I don't know. But then again, there are some of those like more dynamic page layouts, thinking of the kind of stuff you'd see in like Immortal Hulk these days, where they take a 6 panel grid, but then they rotate it, 30 degrees off axis, so the panels read kind of diagonally, um, or floating panels, things like that. I'm not always the best at knowing where to put those.
Hmm. All right. So when did you start drawing?
I've been drawing since I was about 4 years old.
Oh.
I used to have to go to work with my mom, and she owned a hair salon. And I would just steal a scratch paper pad off of the cash register desk and then hang out there or under the desk drawing brontosauruses with a ballpoint pen. So all told, 33, 34 years now.
Oh. Okay. That sounds like a really adorable
That's
scenario. I'm thinking
a
about it.
fun, fun version of the story. I mean, there's other moments where like broke my hand and didn't draw for a year and a half, or there have been moments of hiatus in there, but I think I always tell people, like, and they're talking about talent. I think that talent is determination that's found its bliss, and that drawing ultimately, if you enjoy it, you'll keep doing it. And if you keep doing it, you'll get better at it.
Right. And that's of anything in life at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Writing, it can be playing an instrument, if it's, you can fail at it and still like it, that means you probably got a talent for it, or
Right.
you could have.
Right. Because I know for me, when it comes to writing, like right now, I'm trying to like at least do one page, which it's hard sometimes because it's like, sometimes I have like this ideas flowing through me, but other times I'm just staring like at a blank computer screen, getting more and more pissed off at my screen, wanting to throw it. And then I remember that I paid good money for this, and I'll be quite upset if I broke one of my forms of like this broke one of my forms of entertainment also.
Yeah, that's, I mean, your outlet. If it's like a ballpoint pen or something, you feel a little less bad if you snap it in half. But yeah, I can identify with the frustration though.
Right,
That's very real.
it's like damn, if I break you, that's like my hentai collection right there. So
Yeah. I can definitely say don't punch a steel core garage door, like not the big opening front of the door, but the side door of a garage, because I ended up busting a pinky knuckle doing that in a moment of frustration 6 or 7 years ago. Put my hand in a cast for 6 weeks and didn't draw again for over a year, at least not with any degree of seriousness.
hmm, damn.
That was a bummer. That was 2013, I think I did that.
Oh, so I
Yeah,
wasn't that.
it's been a bit. Life's a lot better now, but yeah.
That's good.
Moral of the story: don't punch things.
Okay, well, don't punch expensive thing. That's like probably my moral of the story.
That's a big one too. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, unless you really, really want to, or you've got a lot of money to replace the expensive thing you're about to punch.
9 times out of 10, I usually don't. It's like,
And like that rock star mentality of like smashing a guitar at the end of the show. It's like you're a writer, you get to the end of the novel, backed it up to the cloud, boom, punch the computer you wrote it on, by noon tomorrow. But
that would be
wait till
nice.
you get on the bestseller list.
That would be nice. But like I said, this laptop is like basically my form of entertainment. So that would be kind of stupid for me to do.
Yeah, yeah. It's if you watch movies or listen to music on it, and there's a lot you can do on a laptop these days.
Yes, it's my baby. My non living
What,
baby at this point.
what kind of laptop do you have?
I have a Google Chromebook.
Nice,
Yep.
nice little computers.
Yeah, that's the job. Um, what got you into drawing? And like what type of tools do you use for it?
I the kind of drawing I'm doing these days, right around 2007 is when I got married, and like immediately after my wife and I moved to Italy for 10 months. She was an art student also. She was doing 2 semesters over there. I had zero debts, nothing to do. So I went with her and ended up just doing illegal immigrant stuff for 10 months.
Hmm.
But while I was over there, I was looking for work because after about 3 weeks, I really started. And I found a job there, trying to teach like screenwriting or a screenplay editing class, and ended up in some animations that I did before. That they were most interested in wanting me to teach a class on animation, which I was dangerously underqualified to do at the time. Um, so the ended up not coming to not having to, and realizing that there was um, in the animation. I started animation while we were over there. Came back and enrolled in the animation program at Cal State Fullerton here in California. Graduated that, and shortly after broke my hand, but sort of changed how I approached drawing. I got to take life drawing classes for the first time, where I was drawing from a nude model. And then, after 4 or 5 years break, I went back to Cal State Fullerton, where I am now, to get my master's degree. And actually, I'm teaching figure drawing there now too, which has been kind of interesting, seeing it from the other side of the drawing board, really, or just kind of guiding other students through, what I was going through myself just a few short years ago.
Hmm.
But the tools I use currently, I do, apart from the in-class work where I'm working with the students, that's all like Conte Crayon on newsprint. All the comic book pages that you'll see in Hush Ronin, really anything that has been published of mine or will be published of mine in the near future, was all drawn on an iPad
Huh.
using Procreate and an Apple Pencil.
Right. The whole living in Italy thing sounds like it was like a lot of fun.
It was scary at times, but it was fun. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. In fact, we're going back again here in 12 days, actually. We're going for a couple weeks with a big group, just on a vacation kind of trip for a couple weeks.
Oh, cool. Hope you guys have fun.
Good. Oh, I hope so too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It'll be good to revisit the old neighborhood. And I've been back one time. We went back in 2016, and it was nice. I didn't realize how much I'd missed it. Uh, it's a very, very different way of life over there, but definitely worth visiting if you ever get the chance.
Hmm. Like traveling is something I would like to be able to do one day. And Rome has always been one of those spots that I've wanted to hit up.
Rome is a lot of fun. That's a really cool city. And yeah, it's one of those places I never thought I'd get to see in my lifetime. And now this will be my third time, or maybe fourth, really. So yeah, it's one of those cities that kind of calls you back after you've been there once. Go throw a coin in the Trevi Fountain, you'll go back.
Hmm.
From personal experience, that's as close to a guarantee as I can offer.
Nope, that is on my to-do list. Right, so I believe you already said that you was working on a comic called Hush Ronin, I think.
Hush Ronin, yeah, that's my personal one. Yeah, I did the writing and the artwork.
All right, so where did the idea come from for that?
It was pretty random. I was at work at my day job and drawing on an iPad, and I drew a really kind of cute cartoon samurai character. It looked like a Lego figurine or almost like a chess piece, like a big round circular head, just very cute, childlike features. And I got to the point where it was time to draw his mouth, and I tried a couple different shapes, and I could not find one that was a proper fit for him. So I left the mouth space blank and decided, okay, this samurai doesn't have a mouth. And then in my head, this idea started to form of like, well, why wouldn't a guy have a mouth? And then, well, it's the gods took it from him. And then I started, once the gods have taken away a guy's mouth, the next question you have is why. And then from there, it sort of built outward until I had this sort of, it was going to be like a moral tale. And I was basing it a lot off of Usagi Yojimbo, which I was reading a lot of at the time. And that's another one I would definitely highly recommend picking up.
Hmm.
They're just really good, clean, fun comics. Stan Sakai is the writer and artist on those, and just a incredibly kind guy. I've gotten to meet him a couple of times at a couple conventions, and just very, very sweet, very generous with his time, and his comics reflect that. But yeah, the story evolved over through critique and showing it to folks that it was probably a little bit too cute for the violent stuff that I ultimately wanted to put in there. And so it about a year ago, it made its final transition to this sort of like rough hewn, dry, inky kind of style that sort of reminiscent of an old Akira Kurosawa movie, but with elements of, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, the old spaghetti westerns thrown in. It has a very Western kind of feel to it. It doesn't hang its hat too much on Japanese culture, where where it holds to form and everything's very, very proper. The characters do things that probably a real samurai would never have done, but it makes it kind of fun too. He's sort of a Deadpool-esque character in the beginning, and then he ultimately has his journey of change, and basically gets his mouth stolen from him, which is deemed his most dangerous weapon, and now he's wandering around the world with no mouth, can't speak. He's still trying to figure out how he sustains himself without being able to eat, but apparently that's not a problem for him. Yeah.
I'll probably think what like hospital IV bags or something, but that's a good
Yeah.
question.
I'm thinking it's kind of like a supernatural kind of sustenance, like like you see in cartoons or movies, in some cases too, like characters or even books, the characters don't necessarily eat, or you don't the scenes aren't considered important, so they're never shown.
Yeah,
Like, or like in Lord of the Rings, you never hear about like Gandalf sneaking off behind the bushes to take a dump or something.
I mean, I
Uh,
don't think I want to
yeah,
read that.
right. Yeah, that's maybe Radagast the Brown, but
Right. Seriously, like, if someone out there actually wants to know that, I've could like kind of have to feel sorry for them at this point.
yeah, I would too. It's like, that's some fan fiction I just probably wouldn't read.
No, this is like actually quite funny because I actually um brought Lord of the Rings like for my birthday, so I'm
Okay,
still reading it. It's been like a lot
great.
of fun. Yep.
It's been a while since I've read them, but I grew up on that. I've loved I mean, I rented the animated movies as a kid. The animated Hobbit was that one, and Dark Crystal were my two favorite movies when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I basically wore out the VHS tapes at the video place in the small town I lived in. So I rent them every other day or so, or my grandpa would rent them for me. I was four. I didn't have money to do it. But
I mean, if you did, it was like probably just enough to not get you a video. I didn't have
yeah,
any money at four either.
one of the local police officers gave me a nickel one time, and I mean, this was 1985, and I mean, a nickel wouldn't have bought anything back then anyway. But it was money. I just assumed money was money, and it could buy anything you wanted. So I went to the grocery store to buy a candy bar with it, and my mom ended up having to pay the difference.
Now, see, I was not thought of in 1985.
Gotcha.
Yep.
It was an okay year. I don't remember it that well, but
I was like born 5 years after 85. So,
okay.
yeah.
Actually, my writing partner was also born same year as you. Uh,
Yes, because the 90s is like the best decade. There you go.
they kind of were. They definitely had the 80s deadlocked. I mean, there's the music of the 80s. I mean, with the exception of things like maybe Guns N' Roses, and maybe three Motley Crue songs, but pretty much like Tears for Fears. I'll probably get bashed for saying this, but God, that music's depressing.
Yeah, I mean, I have like some 80s stuff on like my playlist, but I mostly blame that on my mother, who did grow up in the 80s, forcing me to listen to 80s music while
Gotcha.
basically in the car with her.
Yeah, that was exactly where I got subjected to it. It was mostly 80s country, so it was Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, toward the end, Garth Brooks. Yeah, it was Linda Ronstadt. Trying to remember some of the others. But yeah, it was an interesting time to be alive.
Yeah,
Get some light going on here. It's very dark.
right.
Oh, hey, buddy. My 3-year-old.
Oh, is he a artist too, or
Uh, he's not. He's kind of in a Jackson Pollock phase right now. But he does a lot of painting. He likes to. I've let him paint on my iPad a little bit, but usually it's just like watercolors, color crayons on paper. And yeah, he loves colors. I think he might be more of a musician though. Like music seems to be like a key thing for him.
I can see that. I mean, music is, but technically it's still art. It's just that
Oh
instead of drawing on paper,
yeah,
you're
you're
drawing
just
with like an
appealing to the
instrument,
ears rather than the eyes.
right? It's like art is like drawing is like art for the eyes. Music is like art for the ears, if you will.
Yeah, the biorhythms. He just likes to dance, and yeah, he has a very strong emotional response to music. So we're like watching a movie, and a part of the movie, visually isn't necessarily scary, but the music gets scary, and he gets a terrified reaction to it, which I've never seen anybody do before.
You might be in the midst of like a musical genius.
Yeah, maybe he's a blast to play around with, though.
Oh,
My buddy, he wakes me up every morning, and then I have to piggyback ride him out to the living room, and then
oh,
we watch these terrible dinosaur videos on YouTube of this kid and his overbearing dad opening toys. And actually, I got him onto Batman today. I was thrilled about that. He wanted to watch Batman, so we found some clips of the Justice League cartoons, and we
oh
watched
man,
that
I
hour.
love those.
I hadn't watched them yet. I was surprisingly good. I really enjoyed it. It has a lot of those characters that you don't see too much outside of the comics, like Booster Gold and Mr. Miracle. And I'm like, all right,
Yeah,
Solomon Grundy in a cartoon. Like, heck yeah.
like that cartoon is probably like the team up of like um that's probably like one of my favorite hero team ups ever. Like when they did that live action Justice League movie, which let's face it, it
I
sucked. Okay,
started, that's what I keep hearing. I haven't
it
watched it yet.
it sucked. But I think the main thing that got to me was that they technically already had like a good team format, which was like from that 2000 animated series. That's something that my generation knows and that we grew up with that team. So it's like you
Yeah,
technically already had that said team. Why did you guys not just go with that?
yeah, yeah. It didn't seem like it was very well set up either. The last DC movie that I saw actually was Man of Steel. I still haven't seen the Batman Dawn of Justice or whatever that was. Didn't see Justice League, and I haven't watched Aquaman or Wonder Woman yet. Although I've heard Wonder Woman and Aquaman were both pretty good.
Wonder Woman was good. Aquaman, I have yet to see myself.
Yeah, same. It's kind of on my list. I it's funny because like Marvel comics for years were my favorite. Like Spider-Man was, I thought they just had a superior product. They had better heroes on the whole, with the exception of maybe Batman, which was like my favorite horse in the DC stable.
Same for
But
me.
these days, if you look at my buying habits, most of what I'm buying is DC. So I'm getting, like I'll get Batman as he comes out. Occasionally I'll pick up the Flash, Green Lantern, and a lot of characters that I just didn't read when I was growing up, I'm really starting to pick up onto now. And it's like, okay, yeah, this is actually really good stuff. It seemed like it wasn't as flashy at the time when I was getting into comics. And
Right.
this was, I remember when Image Comics first came on the scene, right, 92, 93, with like Youngblood and Spawn, and it was like really violent stuff for the first time in comics, where like you'd see somebody fire a gun at somebody, and rather than the person just grabbing the spot and falling down, it was like you saw the exit wound and there's blood everywhere, and it was really cool stuff. And that ended up really appealing to me and my group of friends. I actually still have a bunch of those. I bought them thinking they were going to be worth like a ton of money when I got to the age that I am now, and now they're worth less than what I paid for them. But I don't know.
And
Mm,
so it's like I'm not really concerned about that. I just hope that one day the joy that I got from reading my comics for like the first time, when I have like, my kid, like once they get to like a good age group, I'll be able to like, share that same experience I had with them.
it's
Just like,
awesome.
yeah, that's like I can't.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
no, I was just going to ask the what projects you're working on currently.
Oh, well, I have like a lot of projects that I'm like technically working on. Like, I'm working on like my main comic with like my artist. It's a series called Apple Core. My
Okay.
little avatar is like basically from that. Kind of on like a hiatus right now because they're going to school. I'm like, I want to make sure that you finish up your education first. Like, go ahead, finish that up, and then you can like get back to me, because I honestly did not want anyone else to do this series. It's like once
Gotcha.
I found him, I'm like, you are the one.
It's all right.
Like, like,
That's
like
cool.
I found you. So yeah, and basically, like I said, that's like my main series. I'm hoping to one day submit that to Alternative Comics, mostly because I don't know why, but I feel like the newsprint look of things, like it fits like my style completely. Like it's basically a horror comic, if you will.
Okay.
Like artist, has like a dark personality um to him.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's like the main one. Second one is just a little novel that I'm working on. This for fun, like just to see how things goes. Like nothing's really planned out. And then third is like a card game that I wanna basically get out there one day, that's based on the novel, which also might turn to like another comic that I'm working on.
Okay.
Yep.
That sounds like fun. My writing partner is working on a couple of tabletop games, and some video game concepts. He's really big into gaming stuff. In fact, he's got me into a couple of them. Like, oh no, I can't think of the name of it. It's like a zombie apocalypse board game. It's really fun. And I got him playing Magic the Gathering recently.
I see. I want to get like into that. Like,
Magic or or
like
or
Magic. Like I played it once, but it was like kind of confusing because I was like still in like that learning stage, if you will. So
mm.
Yeah.
It's a confusing game. I mean, there's I'd say it has fewer moving parts than a lot of the other collectible card games out there, and it has I played it years and years ago when it was brand new, and played for like a year. Sold my deck to my best friend's cousin at the time, and then didn't touch it again until really probably about 6 months ago. And I was very surprised to see that the rules were still very much the same as they were when I played. I mean, they've expanded it, of course, but you could still play the same way you did 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah. All right. So, is there any collaborations that you're doing?
Uh, Many actually. I don't know if I could list them all. I was working on one, putting together a pitch pack with a writer named Marty Dolan out of New York, and we're doing. It's a comic about kind of like a slice of life story about a punk rock band, teenage punk rock band. That one getting pretty close to done on the pitch materials. I've got another. I'm illustrating basically some. I'm translating poems to comics form. I've
Ooh,
got that one's been fun
oh,
with
sounds fun.
Zodiac Core. Fellow in charge there is a guy named Chauncey Sheeran Jr. Just hell of a human being, just a really nice guy. I've enjoyed working with him. Boy, what else have I got here? I've got another one. I can't really disclose the details of yet, but I am working with Jay Sandlin, who runs the What Happens Next or hashtag What Happens Next podcast. I've got, oh yeah, and then Stewart Brothers Studios out of North Carolina. I'm doing their King Tut comic, and then one other short that they've hired me to do. Just finished up a short called Trench Stalker with Brendon Knight. That one's getting ready to roll to Comixology here pretty soon, I think. He's going to wait on me to get the PDF formatted. I've got that going on tonight.
Oh,
Um,
congrats.
Kind of a lot. I publish small pieces regularly with the publisher who did Hush Ronin, Ashcan Comics Pub. The fellow in charge there is a guy named Nate Lindley, and he runs a system called Flash Fiction Force. And basically, it's a pretty cool community of both writers and artists. And each month, the writers and artists will sort of pair off. The writers will make a short flash fiction story, and then the artist will create a piece that accompanies the story. And they'll publish anywhere from like 6 to 10 of these in a single issue, usually on a single theme, like old school monsters or cyber steampunk, or I think the last one was like sword and sorcery, chainmail kind of stuff. So I think I have 2 pieces coming up in the next one. Where the theme is survival, and then I'm going to be doing another one, kind of a superhero based one with Michael Derrick.
Oh, okay. So the cyber steampunk, like that sounds like something I would love to work on one day. Same with like the survival stuff.
Check it out there online. They've got samples of it at ashcancomics.pub.com. He's only been publishing now since around December of last year, so it's still a relatively small cast of titles. And I should be having Hush Ronin #2 enter that pretty soon also. But Hush Ronin #1, like I said, is free right now if you want to check it out. Just type in Hush Ronin, all lowercase, all one word, in the coupon code section, and it'll download for free for you.
All right, well, I will be sure to check it out. That will give me like a nice treat, if you will.
I
Like,
think all the other books are around 99 cents right now too. So he's dropped the prices on a lot of them. And he does them digitally and in print. It's something you can subscribe to, and you get basically 2 books a month plus stickers and other goodies delivered right to your mailbox. But it seemed like a really interesting publishing opportunity. I really like Nate a lot. He's just another one of those kind of one of a kind human beings. It's I just got a good feeling from him from the outset that I hadn't gotten from others that I discussed my comic with, and I felt like I could trust him with it.
I think that's like one thing you should like basically look for is like what's like the person like can I vibe with this person, if you will, and
Yeah.
if I can, then I know it's a good match. And
Yep.
usually I tend to be like right about these things. If not, then it's like, it might be like a good business move to like, go with you. But like I said, if I'm not vibing with you, then honestly, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. No, there's not enough that can be said for that. It is really huge. I mean, there are. I mean, in the interest of getting paid for things, eventually you do end up working with, I'd say, people that perhaps you don't see completely eye to eye with. And I've been very fortunate in that regard that at least in comics, I haven't really run into that yet. The only one that I did run into was a complete psychopath. I won't name names, but the individual, yeah, it became pretty clear pretty early on that he wasn't, say, drawing with a fully sharpened pencil, or few fries short of a Happy Meal, whatever one that best hits that home. But yeah, it's the only time I've ever been like unequivocally fired from a comic book job. I wouldn't say fired. It was just this sort of emotional blowout that this fellow had, and um, yeah, it was. It was more relief than anything. So yeah, the vast majority of people that I've run into in comics, if you're nice to them, they're typically nice back, and it's. I think most of them have been like I said, I've been very lucky in that regard. I'm sure that there's probably still some stone waiting to be overturned that's got the project of my nightmares underneath it, but I haven't found it yet. So
Right. I think that's like this life in general. Like, if you're nice to like so and so, then 9 times out of 10, they're usually nice back.
yeah, yeah, I think it's just going up with that rule of don't punch expensive things, don't be an asshole. It's actually a pretty easy one to live by. It seems to be anyway. I do meet people that I'm like, wow, that.
And it's like, look, I'm an asshole, but I'm like also a really polite asshole at the same time. So,
Yes. Same. Yeah. Like, asshole for me, the definition I have for it is just somebody who has absolutely no regard or not a care in the world for their really shitty behavior. It's the guy who doesn't feel like stop signs should apply to him because he drives a BMW, or uh, I don't know. There's a lot of them.
okay, so, um, do you have any advice you would like to give to um other comic creators?
Um, Other than don't punch expensive things and don't be an asshole.
That's
Um,
really good.
and those are. I mean, that's for anybody. You don't have to be making comics for those to be applicable. Um, I would say, know the value of your time and your work, and know that your time and your work have value. Because I see a lot of people that will farm themselves out for free, or for these, exposure bucks or portfolio points and things like that. And I think there's a place for passion projects, and like Hush Ronin. To date, I think I've made $20 on that one. I mean, working for other people drawing their comics has been infinitely more profitable than drawing my own so far. But I think a lot of people undervalue themselves out there, And I think that, it is, whether you're writing comics, drawing comics, editing comics, anything, it's your time and your skills have value, and know what that is.
Hmm. All right. So besides comics, um, what else do you like to do for fun?
Um, Mostly just play with my son. Honestly, I like to take him out and go play at parks and things. I like to read. My wife and I had a nice date night tonight. We took a nice long walk and talked and travel. Yeah, it all kind of, I'm just thinking about it, it all gravitates back towards comics, because when I've got free time and none of those other things are going on, I'm either drawing or reading a comic book.
Hmm. Same for me. Like I said, I have like comics that I have like my Lord of the Rings book, which haven't really been able to like get into it as much as I would.
It's formidable. That's I'm You're talking. I mean, thinking of it all as one book, each one of those is at least 300 to 400 pages. I mean, you're talking like a 1,200 page novel. Throw The Hobbit in there as the prelude, and then you've got 1,500 pages. So I mean, it's a lot of reading, and Tolkien was very, very dense with his descriptions. You
Yeah,
know, I mean, short of tasting what the river water was like, you certainly know what it looked and sounded like by the time you finish that 3 page description of it.
yeah. It's also been like a lot of like um TV shows that I need to get back into. Like
Oh,
probably like
okay.
a couple of like animes that I need to finish up too.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Haven't gotten into anime yet. I think I've been avoiding it on purpose just because I don't want to get too addicted to some of those. Have Are you a Game of Thrones watcher?
I was for like season one and season two. I actually meant to get back into it, but it's like now that it's over, I can just always binge watch it if I ever so please to do so.
Yeah, I did the same thing with Lost. I didn't see anything past season 4, but and it's like, yeah, I was gonna watch it when it came out, the season finale or series finale, and then I just kept eventually pieced together what happened from a bunch of people just letting it slip. I'm like, okay, yeah, not that's fine. I don't really need to watch that. But
Right.
that one's oddly addicting. That's the one I've been hooked on lately. Even now it's over, it's like, I'm gonna rewatch it.
No, see, I have not seen Lost. I've heard about it, but still haven't like seen one episode of it.
The first 2 seasons were awesome, but ultimately they just started asking more questions than they could answer, and then completely stopped answering the questions in favor of asking even more questions, and then in the end just failed to answer really any of them.
I see, that's like the thing. Like, it's okay to like have questions set up, but if you don't have like a payout, then it's like, well, what's the whole point of like of me even watching this if none of my stuff is answered?
Yeah, it's it, it, they're good questions, but I think if you're writing a TV show and you're going to ask a question like that, or if it's a comic book and you're going to ask this crazy question, it's know the answer before you ask the question.
Yeah, pretty much. So if Hush Ronin was to get like its own TV setup, would you have it be, live action or like a cartoon or something, like a
Oh
animated
man,
series?
that's a good question. I haven't been asked that before. I've thought about that. I can see the merits of both. I'd love to see it like an HBO live action Game of Thrones kind of. I don't want to say budget, but definitely sort of the production values of having a convincing looking medieval Japan, which I think they've kind of done with Westworld anyway. but I could also see it lending itself pretty well to like an anime style also. So I guess maybe both. Can I be greedy like that? Yeah,
Hmm,
both.
maybe.
I think I would be more likely to watch it if it was live action for myself. But that's assuming, that I'm pretending that it isn't mine, that it's just a show that I saw a preview for on Twitter and saw that it was HBO and that I have access to it and I can now watch it. To be like how I got into True Detective or something.
Another show I have yet to see, but for
The
some,
first season is magnificent. The second season I couldn't get into at all. Like we watched 3 or 4 episodes and just dropped it. And I haven't heard anything good or bad about this third season, but it looks like it's kind of harkening back to that first season, which was it was some of the best television I've ever watched. That was just a genius show.
hmm, now some reason I'm like more into like animated stuff. I mean, I have
Mm.
like a few live actions that I do enjoy watching, but most of my stuff is like pretty much animated at this point.
That's cool though. I mean, animation. I was an animator for a while. That's what I'd gone to school for. And like comic books, what I appreciated about it was I mean, as long as you could draw it, you could have it in your movie. So there's no special effects budget. You you need a castle that has 3-mile long walls. If you can draw that, you can have it. And whereas like live action, a lot of them fall back on computer generated imagery, but ultimately, you still need some kind of a physical place to put the stuff and people to build it. And, it's just seem more budget friendly. And then, as long as your drawing at least mostly resembles what you're seeing in your head, often the animated version is closer to the original vision than what can be achieved with actors on film.
Hmm. All right, so if you could work on any comic book character, like from DC, Marvel, or like whatever company you would like to work with,
Mm.
who who would that character be?
Right now, hands down, Batman. Uh,
That's a good one.
yeah, I love Batman. See him. There's close second would be Hellboy, and then the Rocketeer. Actually, the Disney movie, the IDW did some comics. Mark Waid and Chris Samney did the writing and the art on those. Yeah, Chris Samney's amazing. That's another artist that just like every time I look at it, one of his books, I'm like, God damn it, how do you this guy? Just yeah, that definitely Batman at the forefront of things, especially seeing like the work Jorge Fornes has been doing on it reminds me a lot of the David Mazzucchelli stuff from was it right around 1989, 1990 when Frank Miller wrote the Year One story arc. Reminds me a lot of that, and it's
Right.
just very realistic looking Batman.
Probably the same for me, which I find kind of funny because it's like I enjoy reading superhero comics, but when it comes to me writing them, I have like a hard time doing so. But
Hmm.
if it's Batman, then it's like, okay, yeah, Batman, he's he's basically been my favorite since I'm gonna say since I like first saw the '90s cartoon series.
Yeah, the old Batman the animated series.
Yes, it's like
Yeah, that was a home run of a show. That was classic stuff. In
yeah, it was
fact,
that was like my
the-
favorite Batman. The Joker from that series is like my
oh
favorite
yeah,
Joker.
Mark Hamill owned it.
Yes.
They did. I just found out about it today with that Justice League show. They did a kind of meta short where the Joker kidnaps Mark Hamill. I got to see a clip from that. So it's Mark Hamill playing himself in the back seat of the car, and then he's also doing the voice of the Joker in the front seat. It's all animated, but
I've seen that. I love that. And I like to think that the Joker is actually Luke, going to like the dark side and losing his stand mind. So my
I like
head
that idea.
canon, Darth Vader is actually the father of the Joker. Doesn't make any sense. I don't know how it's gonna fit into things, but there we go.
I'd buy that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to sign off here in a second, but
All right.
it's been fun hanging out. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being on. This was fun.
My pleasure.
All right. You and your family have a nice night, and I hope you guys have a nice vacation.
Thank you very much. Good luck with your project. Enjoy
Thank you,
writing.
and good luck with
Don't put.
yours.
Don't do it.
Like I said, I'm looking forward to.
All right.
All right. You guys have a good night, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks again.
Yep. Thank you. Night.
Right.